All right, welcome back to Motivation Mondays with Monica Marie Jones. We are here live in the studio with Miss Berhenda Williams, and we are already deep into our discussion. So we're going to pick it right back on up, and let's talk about you have an amazing organization called the Power of Girlhood. I had the pleasure of being the hostess of one of her awesome events. Again, well put together, young, talented women. We had poetry performances, Zumba. I mean, it was just a day full of amazing resources and connection. So tell us about that organization, you know, what inspired you to start it, whatever you want to say about the power of girlhood.
So the Power of Girlhood started when I was a Spanish teacher at Henry Ford Academy School for Creative Studies. Big ups to Henry Ford Academy. Love them. So I was a Spanish teacher there, and I just noticed that a lot of my girls were just suffering emotionally, just questioning who they were, every day getting over a breakup. Social media would sometimes then spill back into the school environment, and I'm just like, okay, enough. And we started a mentoring program in-house where once a month we would break the girls up and we'd get them all cupcakes. And so we had a business owner that would provide cupcakes for each girl just so that they felt special and that they felt like somebody loved them. And as I talk to colleagues actually in other schools, I'm seeing that there's just this epidemic of low self-esteem. It is at an epidemic proportion. And it's hard when you have like a barrage of media images telling you who you should be and what you should look like. And so that sort of the mentality of, if you too, become a jump off, you can get a reality show and you can hire somebody to write a book for you. And, never mind what God's purpose is for you, and never mind you refining yourself, through the academic process, college or training, like the idea that you can actually do something that doesn't require you to be on your back.
Okay.
So, I just have to, don't want to sound crass, but I just have to put it out there. It's just our girls are so susceptible to outside influences when you don't have an identity.
And that carries over into adulthood.
Yes, because there are women
and it's the same thing. And it's like, wow, how can we heal that? What can we do? And of course, a big part of it is starting with young women, but
the older woman has to heal that inner girl. And it was interesting because I did the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers with Satori Shakur. And every time I wanted to kind of get out of the pain and get out of, what was going on at my 13-year-old self, she didn't let me wiggle out of it. And sometimes the hardest thing to face is yourself.
Come on now. That was the poem I did at Poetry Page. I was talking about my inner fat child who would not let me move on with life.
That's right. And so it permeates, all areas of your life. So I saw an opportunity because I still had the relationship with the Southfield Public Library, and sort of there it was. And the girls came out and enjoyed themselves, but just the feedback I got from women, adult women that said, oh, I wish when I was their age I had a mentoring program or I had someone to validate me, because that's really what we want, is that we want permission to be who we are, and we want the validation of who we are. And if we can do that, if we can do those things, and if we can internally do it, because, the reality is we can't wait for people to greenlight us.
Yep.
It has to come from a place that is internal, that says, I can do it, I can. And so through creativity, because it's very kinesthetic, you can kind of put yourself into it. Through entrepreneurship, because it's your blood and sweat and tears that kind of goes into it. And through like the science of it. We don't see enough girls in math and science and architecture. It's just not enough.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of wealth to be had and a lot of money that comes in from the state that goes back because girls don't participate. Minorities don't participate.
Interesting.
But you don't participate in what you don't think is available to you, or better yet, what you don't think you're worthy of.
Now let's talk about work, okay? I think that's one of the things that connects us, because we are both very creative and entrepreneurs and this and that. And we sat down and we had brunch and some delicious mimosas one day. And we were there like all day. It was weird.
All day.
We just kept talking and talking and
Ideating, yes.
It was coming to the conversation of, knowing your value, knowing your worth. And as we both speak, we both perform, we both have all these talents, and there's a certain mindset in our area, unfortunately, where it's like, okay, come on, do all this stuff for free. And I'm all about giving. I'm all about volunteering. I love, adding value to things.
Absolutely.
But how do we know our worth, not only monetarily, but in relationships, in business, in our family, when it comes to finances, because that stuff is all interconnected.
It is.
So speak a little bit about knowing your worth and your value.
Jeez, I mean, it has to, again, like I said, come from within. There has to come a point where you can't be afraid of pissing people off. And be afraid of, oh, they're going to think I'm a B, or, oh, they're going to think I'm ungrateful, because it's then the resentment that you hold towards yourself when you do that free event. That you're not there in a holistic capacity because you're resenting the fact, I did another free event. And again, it's one of those things that even one of my mentors, she didn't know she's my mentor, but hey, mentor, Lisa Nichols.
I love her.
I live for you, girl. It's not a cardinal sin to be wealthy. And there are sometimes, she did The Secret for free. A lot of people don't know that, but she did not
That was
paid.
a good free investment, though.
Exactly.
Because that's when a lot of people learned about her.
Exactly. So that's why you have to know and be kind of plugged into spirit and understand that, source is your source. And so when you understand that, there will be those times. I've given books away because God told me, give that book away. Just write it because that person needed it. It wasn't about the money. So, I mean, it's all kind of currency, and it's like, so what's your current? How do you want to flow? So you do have to, it is part giving, but you also have to have a really tight net and secure net to receive. And if you're not receiving, your monetary just due, you can't continue. Because before you show up to an event, I know for me easily, I've spent $300 before I even hit the stage.
Yeah.
And there's a certain expectation, the hair, the makeup, the stilettos,
gas money to get there. If they don't pay for your travel.
Right.
I mean, that was people realize that,
Right.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes, that is just so true. And I like what you said about Lisa Nichols, because there are times to give strategically. There are times to give from a spiritual aspect, but knowing when to give, because if you keep giving, you're going to burn yourself out. That made me think of two things when we talk about value and self-esteem. First, with the self-esteem, this is just a tip I love to give myself and others. When somebody gives you a compliment, just say thank you. What do we normally do? Oh, girl, my hair, my new growth, and it's dirty. I got to wash my hair. Oh, my nails need to fill in. We don't just take the compliment like, thank you. That shows high self-esteem. Like, yes, I know. Thank you. And
it's nothing wrong with being gracious with the compliment, because then, again, there's all these broadcasts that we're kind of putting out there. I am worthy.
Yeah, because we automatically go to that. Is it called self-deprecation? Is that what it's called?
Self-deprecation.
We automatically go to that like we don't deserve a compliment.
Oh, God, and that's so unattractive.
Right. Now, the other piece, too, of value is saying no and not giving an explanation.
Because it's not necessary. It's so not necessary.
You could just be like, no, and they'll be looking like, and you could just have silence after that. Like, you can tell people no, and you do not have to give them an explanation. You don't. Because a lot of times it's something we'd have made up anyway to try to make it seem like an excuse or a lie or
fallacies.
Just no.
And it's so funny that you say that, because I got a call today to do an event, and I have like 2 other events on the same day. And the old Berhenda would figure, if I'm everywhere, then everyone sees me. And it's like, let's rewind that track back. What's for you is for you. The people who know you love you, and those who love you know you. You do not have to be everywhere and be all things to all people, because that's crazy to do, getting a vendor table, at one place, and then ducking out to get a vendor table or facilitate a workshop at another place, and then, doing, street work. Because, when you do you got to do the street team part of it and pound the pavement for yourself. And for what? You come back home, you haven't sold not one more book as a result of it.
Tell me,
you haven't secured one more gig as a result of it. And you are just so shaken up, disheveled, and who can live like that?
And drained. When you give out, when you perform, it's like sucks the energy out of you. So you have to kind of, take that time to feed yourself. I was the same way. I'm like, oh, the day is open, so I can book things back to back to back. And you get to that day, and you tired before you get to the first thing. Like, what was I thinking? How will I make it through?
Because of the mental gymnastics that you have to do to get into that space. So it's like,
I don't think we think about that.
No, we don't.
Now, on that same conversation of value and worth, that kind of ties into branding and your personal brand. And you talked about that a little bit. You were saying you had a conversation with a branding coach. So how does, worth, value, your brand, talk about that. And let's talk about, too, how your worth and value bleeds into relationships and family life and all that.
So an interesting thing, which I think a lot of people don't consider, if you don't know how to do something, get a coach. It is nothing wrong with having a life coach or a business coach, because the best investment that you can make is into yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so I launched Be Connected Marketing and Publishing. You can go online at beconnectedmarketingandpublishing.com because, and this was a conversation that I had with my coach, is that you just have to value yourself. And when you begin to value yourself and kind of hold your space and time as sacred, others will do the same. Because sometimes when you just kind of continuously give away things, even if you charge 99 cents for a download, you will sell more for that 99-cent download than if you were to give it away, because there's a perceived value to it. A lot of times, I've done free events. The events that actually are ticket have a better turnout.
Yeah, because people are like, I paid, I'm going to show up.
I paid, and so I'm going to show up. And so it's more a principle of investment. So if you invest in yourself, others will then invest into you.
Yeah.
And again, kind of the guerrilla marketing that I see on Facebook, just all day long, just posting. Get out. Meet people.
Yeah.
That good old fashioned thing called a handshake and eye contact.
Oh, man, that's
Remember
so
that?
powerful. It's so powerful. And we think everybody's sitting, a lot of people are, but we think everybody's sitting in front of a computer waiting for our post. The way Facebook is maneuvering things now, they're like tailoring who sees what and when. Right. So they're really, you might have 5,000 friends, but they are not all seeing your posts.
They are not all seeing your posts.
So you do have to build relationships.
Build personal relationships and share your story. I think, a lot of times, particularly in our market, because we can't speak for the world because I know this is going to be seen everywhere, but just kind of the thing I notice in a market, there's not this authenticity piece. When you're vulnerable and you can be open about who you are, the power of girlhood, goes a little bit deeper. There's a wounded 13-year-old girl that I had to work through and heal to kind of help, move the platform further because it's me, So if I'm not whole and if I'm not complete, then I'm more of a parasite than I am a giver because I'm just trying to take energy away. You have to be able to give. And you can't do that until you, again, create safe sanctuary and put up healthy boundaries for yourself. And I don't care what kind of business you're in. And so kind of with the Facebook, if you tweet it or they will come, that's not necessarily the case. People buy you. People buy the experience they had with you. People buy your love. So it's really nice to be nice. Just because you posted, you can get 1 million impressions and you can get all the likes in the world, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a sale until someone feels that they can trust you. There has to be an element of trust, and there has to be a perceived value added.
Yeah, that is so true. Now, you delved a little bit into another topic that I want to talk about, which is self-care. We are very similar. So as women, and there are men too. I'm not leaving out the fellas.
Yeah, because the barbershop is all full till too on the weekend.
We want to give, do, work, business. Then next thing you know, you crash out and you burn. And that's been my whole thing this month, and it's going to be my thing moving forward, is how do we take care of ourselves? Because if we are not taking care of ourselves in all the aspects, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever,
that's right,
we are not going to be worth anything for anybody else. And I saw that happening to myself. I started to crash and burn. I'm still trying to get up and be motivational, but I'm like, my life is all out of balance. My health is failing. I need to take a step back.
Yes, you do.
And take care of me. How do we do that when we find this joy and this like worth in taking care of everybody else?
I think there's this conditioning as women that we feel like we have to be somebody's like personal Jesus, like the Depeche Mode song, Personal Jesus. Like, you're not a savior. You are not. That is not who you are. There is one, but you're not it.
Mm-hmm.
So come to the realization is that, you know, people are going to make the choices that they're going to make, they're going to do, and you can't save them. I mean, don't get caught up in what, like, I like to call karmatic shrapnel. Because that hen will come back around, and when their hens come back home to roost, you don't want to be caught up in somebody's life lesson that they were supposed to learn. Because you wanted to go in and fix it. So how they're learning the lesson if you go in and save them every time something hiccups?
Yep, and that's what really got me the other day. I've been doing these morning walking prayers and listening to these podcasts.
Yes.
Honey, and it was talking about letting go of toxic people in your life. And I'm like, no, but they need me, and I am this savior. I am this motivational beacon of light of the world, right?
Right.
But it was like, no.
No.
When you hold on to toxic people, you are enabling them to be toxic. And by you letting them go, that's going to lead to their breakthrough, because they could say, hey, this awesome person doesn't want to be my friend anymore. Why? What did I do? Then they'll say, oh, I need to change. So when we hold on to people and try to help them and this and that,
that's right.
We're in the way of their breakthrough. So that's when it clicked for me. Oh, I'm not helping them by holding on to them. I can help them by letting them go.
You could be blocking their blessing.
Come on now. That's when I had my breakthrough. I was like, it's not even about me.
It's not.
And how did I end up making it about me when I thought I was really helping someone else? So let that marinate. We have to take a commercial break. But I hope you get a notebook when you come back, because you see there are some nuggets of wisdom being dropped here. All right. So we'll be right back with Berhenda Williams on Motivational Mondays with Monica Marie Jones in a moment.